Language Foundations Vocabulary Flashcards, helping you achieve understanding.
A proportion in relation to a whole, which is usually the amount per hundred. Assets belonging to or due to or contributed by an individual person or group. A proportion in relation to a whole, which is usually the amount per hundred. A proportion in relation to a whole, which is usually the amount per hundred. A proportion in relation to a whole, which is usually the amount per hundred. The effort contributed by a person in bringing about a result. The actions and activities assigned to or required or expected of a person or group. The government must do its part. To some extent, in some degree, not wholly. I felt partly to blame. Assets belonging to or due to or contributed by an individual person or group. A portion of a natural object. They analyzed the river into 3 parts. Something less than the whole of a human artifact. The rear part of the house. One of the portions into which something is regarded as divided and which together constitute a whole. The written part of the exam. Discontinue an association or relation. Go different ways. The business partners broke over a tax question. The melody carried by a particular voice or instrument in polyphonic music. He tried to sing the tenor part. Force, take, or pull apart. Moses parted the Red Sea. An item that is an instance of some type. My dog swallowed a Lego part. A line of scalp that can be seen when sections of hair are combed in opposite directions. His part was right in the middle. Leave. The extended spatial location of something. Religions in all parts of the world. Go one's own way. Move apart. The friends separated after the party. Something determined in relation to something that includes it. He wanted to feel a part of something bigger than himself. An actor's portrayal of someone in a play. She played the part of Desdemona. Come apart. That which concerns a person with regard to a particular role or situation. It requires vigilance on our part. An individual quantity of food or drink taken as part of a meal. His portion was larger than hers. Assets belonging to or due to or contributed by an individual person or group. Something less than the whole of a human artifact. The allotment of some amount by dividing something. Money or property brought by a woman to her husband at marriage. Give out. Your overall circumstances or condition in life, including everything that happens to you. Success that was her portion. Something determined in relation to something that includes it. I read a portion of the manuscript. The effort contributed by a person in bringing about a result. They all did their share of the work. Assets belonging to or due to or contributed by an individual person or group. He wanted his share in cash. A sharp steel wedge that cuts loose the top layer of soil. The allotment of some amount by dividing something. Death gets more than its share of attention from theologians. Give out as one's portion or share. Have, give, or receive a share of. We shared the cake. Any of the equal portions into which the capital stock of a corporation is divided and ownership of which is evidenced by a stock certificate. He bought 100 shares of IBM at the market price. Communicate. I'd like to share this idea with you. Have in common. Our children share a love of music. Use jointly or in common. Magnitude or extent. A building of vast proportions. The relation between things, or parts of things, with respect to their comparative quantity, magnitude, or degree. An inordinate proportion of the book is given over to quotations. Harmonious arrangement or relation of parts or elements within a whole, as in a design. Balance among the parts of something. Adjust in size relative to other things. Give pleasant proportions to. The quotient obtained when the magnitude of a part is divided by the magnitude of the whole. Anything of material value or usefulness that is owned by a person or company. The percentage of workers who do not report to work. The percentage of all rental units, as in hotels, are occupied or rented at a given time. The percentage of the workforce that is unemployed at any given date. The percentage of all rental units, as in hotels, that are unoccupied or not rented at a given time. An exemption from some rule or obligation. A share that has been dispensed or distributed. The act of dispensing, giving out in portions. Money received from the state. A share of money or food or clothing that has been charitably given. Be on the mind of. A reason for wanting something done. In the interest of safety. Be of importance or consequence. A diversion that occupies one's time and thoughts, usually pleasantly. He counts reading among his interests. The power of attracting or holding one's attention, because it is unusual or exciting, etc. They said nothing of great interest. A sense of concern with and curiosity about someone or something. An interest in music. Law. A right or legal share of something, a financial involvement with something. They have interests all over the world. Usually plural, a social group whose members control some field of activity and who have common aims. The iron interests stepped up production. A fixed charge for borrowing money, usually a percentage of the amount borrowed. How much interest do you pay on your mortgage? Excite the curiosity of. Engage the interest of. The omission that is made when an editorial change shortens a written passage. Weed out unwanted or unnecessary things. We had to lose weight, so we cut the sugar from our diet. Cut down on. Make a reduction in. The employer wants to cut back health benefits. The act of penetrating or opening open with a sharp edge. His cut in the lining revealed the hidden jewels. Made neat and tidy by trimming. In baseball, a batter's attempt to hit a pitched ball. He took a vicious cut at the ball. Used of rates or prices, reduced usually sharply. Lessen the strength or flavor of a solution or mixture. Cut bourbon. Cut and assemble the components of. Cut recording tape. Used of grass or vegetation, cut down with a hand implement or machine. Reduce in scope while retaining essential elements. The act of cutting something into parts. His cuts were skillful. Refuse to acknowledge. She cut him dead at the meeting. Turn sharply. Change direction abruptly. The car cut to the left at the intersection. Be able to manage or manage successfully. She could not cut the long days in the office. Mixed with water. Sold cut whiskey. A refusal to recognize someone you know. The act of shortening something by chopping off the ends. The barber gave him a good cut. Sports. A stroke that puts reverse spin on the ball. Cuts do not bother a good tennis player. Style and tailor in a certain fashion. Cut a dress. With parts removed. The drastically cut film. A wound made by cutting. He put a bandage over the cut. Create by duplicating data. Cut a disk. Cease, stop. Cut the noise. Cut off the testicles of male animals such as horses. A piece of meat that has been cut from an animal carcass. Make out an issue. Cut a ticket. A trench resembling a furrow that was made by erosion or excavation. A remark capable of wounding mentally. The unkindest cut of all. Intentionally fail to attend. Cut class. A distinct selection of music from a recording or a compact disc. He played the first cut on the CD. The division of a deck of cards before dealing. He insisted that we give him the last cut before every deal. Of a male animal, having the testicles removed. A cut horse. Cuz to stop operating by disengaging a switch. Cut the engine. A canal made by erosion or excavation. Allow incision or separation. This bread cuts easily. An unexcused absence from class. He was punished for taking too many cuts in his math class. A share of the profits. Everyone got a cut of the earnings. A step on some scale. He is a cut above the rest. Discharge from a group. The coach cut 2 players from the team. Dissolve by breaking down the fat of. Soap cuts grease. Divide a deck of cards at random into 2 parts to make selection difficult. Wayne cut. Fashioned or shaped by cutting. A well-cut suit. Fell by sawing, hew. The Vietnamese cut a lot of timber while they occupied Cambodia. Film. An immediate transition from one shot to the next. The cut from the accident scene to the hospital seemed too abrupt. Form by probing, penetrating, or digging. Cut a hole. Form or shape by cutting or incising. Cut paper dolls. Function as a cutting instrument. This knife cuts well. Give the appearance or impression of. Cut a nice figure. Grow through the gums. The new tooth is cutting. Have a reducing effect. This cuts into my earnings. Have grow through the gums. The baby cut a tooth. Hit a ball with a spin so that it turns in the opposite direction. Cut a ping pong ball. Make an abrupt change of image or sound. Cut from one scene to another. Make an incision or separation. Cut along the dotted line. Make a recording of. Cut the songs. Move one's fist. His opponent cut upward toward his chin. Pass directly and often in haste. We cut through the neighbor's yard to get home sooner. Pass through or across. The boat cut the water. Penetrate injuriously. The glass from the shattered windshield cut into her forehead. Perform or carry out. Cut a caper. Reap or harvest. Cut grain. Record a performance on a medium. Cut a record. Separated into parts or laid open or penetrated with a sharp edge or instrument. The cut surface was modeled. Separate with or as if with an instrument. Shorten as if by severing the edges or ends of. Cut my hair. Stop filming. Cut a movie scene. The act of reducing the amount or number. The mayor proposed extensive cuts in the city budget. The style in which a garment is cut. A dress of traditional cut. Of pages of a book, having the folds of the leaves trimmed or slit. The cut pages of the book. Distribute in rations, as in the army. Cigarettes are rationed. A fixed portion that is allotted, especially in times of scarcity. Restrict the consumption of a relatively scarce commodity, as during war. Bread was rationed during the siege of the city. The food allowance for one day, especially for service personnel. The rations should be nutritionally balanced. Cut into slices. A share of something. A slice of the company's revenue. A golf shot that curves to the right for a right-handed golfer. A wound made by cutting. Make a clean cut through. A serving that has been cut from a larger portion. A slice of bread. A spatula for spreading paint or ink. A thin flat piece cut off of some object. Hit a ball and put a spin on it so that it travels in a different direction. Hit a ball so that it causes a backspin. Having been divided, having the unity destroyed. A split group. Separate into parts or portions. Discontinue an association or relation. Go different ways. My friend and I split up. Separate or cut with a tool, such as a sharp instrument. An opening made forcibly as by pulling apart. An increase in the number of outstanding shares of a corporation without changing the shareholders' equity. They announced a 2-for-1 split of the common stock. The act of rending or ripping or splitting something. Division of a group into opposing factions. Go one's own way. Move apart. Come open suddenly and violently, as if from internal pressure. A bottle containing half the usual amount. A dessert of sliced fruit and ice cream covered with whipped cream and cherries and nuts. A lengthwise crack in wood. He inserted the wedge into a split in the log. An old Croatian city on the Adriatic Sea. A promised or claimed share of loot or money. He demanded his split before they disbanded. Especially of wood, cut or ripped longitudinally with the grain. We bought split logs for the fireplace. Extending the legs at right angles to the trunk, one in front and the other in back. 10-pin bowling. A divided formation of pins left standing after the first bowl. He was winning until he got a split in the 10th frame. Mark with a stake. Stake out the path. The money risked on a gamble. A pole or stake set up to mark something, as the start or end of a racetrack. The corner of the lot was indicated by a stake. Put at risk. I will stake my good reputation for this. Kill by piercing with a spear or sharp pole. Law. A right or legal share of something, a financial involvement with something. A stake in the company's future. Place a bet on. A strong wooden or metal post with a point at one end so it can be driven into the ground. Instrument of execution consisting of a vertical post that a victim is tied to for burning. Tie or fasten to a stake. Stake your goat. A portion of something, especially money. A share set aside for a specific purpose. The act of distributing by allotting or apportioning. Distribution according to a plan. An amount added or deducted on the basis of qualifying circumstances. An allowance for profit. A reserve fund created by a charge against profits in order to provide for changes in the value of a company's assets. A permissible difference, allowing some freedom to move within limits. An amount allowed or granted, as during a given period. Travel allowance. A sum granted as reimbursement for expenses. Put on a fixed allowance, as of food. The act of allowing. He objected to the allowance of smoking in the dining room. Space for movement. Make way for. A course of conduct. We went our separate ways. Thing or person that acts to produce a particular effect or achieve an end. The true way to success. A line leading to a place or point. Didn't know the way home. To a great degree or by a great distance. Very much, right smart, is regional in the United States. Way over budget. How something is done or how it happens. A lonely way of life. A general category of things, used in the expression, in the way of. They didn't have much in the way of clothing. A journey or passage. They are on the way. Any artifact consisting of a road or path affording passage from one place to another. He said he was looking for the way out. A portion of something divided into shares. They split the loot 3 ways. Doing as one pleases or chooses. If I had my way. The condition of things generally. That's the way it is. The property of distance in general. It's a long way to Moscow. Repair by adding pieces. She pieced the china cup. A portion of a natural object. He needed a piece of granite. Eat intermittently. Take small bites of. He pieced at the sandwich all morning. An item that is an instance of some type. He designed a new piece of equipment. A share of something. A period of indeterminate length, usually short, marked by some action or condition. I need to rest for a piece. A musical work that has been created. A work of art of some artistic value. It is not known who created this piece. An instance of some kind. It was a nice piece of work. Create by putting components or members together. She pieced a quilt. A portable gun. Game equipment consisting of an object used in playing certain board games. He sacrificed a piece to get a strategic advantage. To join or unite the pieces of. A serving that has been cut from a larger portion. A piece of pie. A distance. It is down the road a piece. An artistic or literary composition. He wrote an interesting piece on Iran. A separate part of a whole. An important piece of the evidence. Join during spinning. Piece the broken pieces of thread, slivers, and rovings. A system in which employees receive a share of the net profits of the business. Computer science. The assignment of particular areas of a magnetic disk to particular data or instructions. A share set aside for a specific purpose. The act of distributing by allotting or apportioning. Distribution according to a plan. The excess of revenues over outlays in a given period of time, including depreciation and other non-cash expenses. Informal terms for money. The excess of revenues over outlays in a given period of time, including depreciation and other non-cash expenses. An open fabric of string or rope or wire woven together at regular intervals. A computer network consisting of a worldwide network of computer networks that use the TCP/IP network protocols to facilitate data transmission and exchange. Yield as a net profit. This sale netted me $1 million. Make as a net profit. Construct or form a web, as if by weaving. Catch with a net. Net a fish. Conclusive in a process or progression. The net result. Remaining after all deductions. Net profit. A goal lined with netting, as in soccer or hockey. A trap made of netting to catch fish or birds or insects. Game equipment consisting of a strip of netting dividing the playing area in tennis or badminton. The excess of revenues over outlays in a given period of time, including depreciation and other non-cash expenses.
Become our student and get access to effective and free educational materials. Subscribe to our YouTube channel to become a part of our growing YouTube community and to learn English effectively.